I used to do disco appearances, as DJs did in the late 70s and early 80s. And then breakfast television started, and I was part of the original Saturday morning team with Michael Parkinson. And it became quickly apparent that you could not be in Skegness at midnight and be on the breakfast sofa at 7 a.m. So I had to make a choice, which for me was no choice because I always prioritized broadcasting. And I stopped doing the PAs, and it never occurred to me to do them again until last year. Someone said, why don't you do this? We've had a couple of people go out and do these theater tours, and they've been successful. And in the case of Jim Davidson, therapeutic. And I thought, oh, okay, let's give it a go.
Yeah, because Danny Baker, on the back of obviously of the 3 books, he's been very popular, hasn't he? You know, doing that type of tour.
Well, he is a great wit and a great mind, and I have to tell you, one of the great broadcast feelings I have had was being interviewed on a book tour by Danny Baker on his breakfast show on Radio London, and I just thought, it's working, it's happening. He had somehow brought the medium to life, and I have long considered him to be one of the greats of the profession.
Can we just talk about music for a little while? And I was actually reviewing an Elvis tribute act on Friday night, and there are a couple of the numbers that this act concentrated on the Vegas years, and he did things like Kentucky Rain and Polk Salad Annie, and somehow I don't know how you feel, of Elvis, for example. Do you think he got as much credit as a musician or as an artist? As I know it sounds a strange thing to ask, as he should have.
I would say that's a very good question because people don't ask that. He was a great singer. He had such nuance and such power and such improvisational talent as well. A song performed by him was very different than performed by someone else. Example, Hound Dog. The Big Mama Thornton Rhythm and Blues #1 was a real shouter, as they used to call them. But Elvis gave it that menace, that snarl. He really rocked on that. And it's kind of curious that people would want to concentrate on the era of Kentucky Rain and Polk Salad Annie because, of course, those are cover versions of songs which are not in the rock and roll canon, whereas something like Hound Dog really is at the heart of rock and roll with Lieber and Stoller as the writers. As a matter of fact, one of my great stories of my life was that Mike Stoller was sailing back from Italy after a holiday, and the boat went down, and many people died. It was the Andrea Doria. This was a famous disaster in 1956. And he arrived at the pier in West Manhattan, where he was greeted by his songwriting partner, Jerry Lieber. And he thought that Jerry was going to make a big deal about him being alive and healthy, and instead he went, Elvis Presley's recorded Hound Dog. Elvis Presley's recorded Hound Dog. And he said, who's Elvis Presley? Because he'd missed the meteoric rise of Elvis in 1956.
What was the first concert you went to?
I would have to think about that, to be honest. But the earliest concerts I went to were in my high school. There was a series of performing arts concerts. And I suppose maybe it was 1962. My piano-playing idols, Ferranti and Teicher, because I took piano lessons as a child, and they were having hits at the time. And I remember Louis Teicher saying, the #1 record of 1961 was an instrumental. Thank God it was ours. And then he played Exodus, which was their big hit in 1961. And I've always remembered that performance. And unfortunately, a jazz musician named Eddie Condon was drunk. And my geometry teacher, the next day, Miss Roper, said, I saw you at that concert last night. What a disgrace. He was drunk.
Of all the people you've interviewed, who would you say is the most, you think, if you had to only keep one interview, you think that was the interview I really enjoyed, or I got a lot out of that particular person?
Well, actually, it's easy to answer that question. My favorite interviewee through the years has been Elton John, because he's so witty and so into his music, and we can talk on that level. And, however, the landmark interview that I had was Paul McCartney's first major post-Beatle interview, which was, surprisingly, 1973. He managed to remain stumm for 3.5 years, and he was about to release Band on the Run, and he was very proud of that album. And I proposed that I interview him for Rolling Stone magazine, which he wanted to be in. So we did that, and I had 6 one-hour sessions with Paul to collect the material for that interview. And that was a historic outing.
How about one that got away, one you didn't do? You thought, I'd like to have interviewed them.
Well, I would have loved to have interviewed Frank Sinatra. But of course, A, he was before my time. But B, also, he wasn't doing interviews by the time that I started doing interviews. I was even hoping that the Italian-American surname might get an in with me, but he was past doing any interviews in those days. The reason why I missed doing an interview with him was because he never gave a fully musically serious interview. Because people who interviewed him always wanted to ask him about surface things or extraneous things that weren't about the music. I always love it whenever you hear him say, almost in a casual, thrown-away way, he'll refer to one of the instrumentalists on his record, or how he learned from Billie Holiday and Tommy Dorsey. And Tommy Dorsey, when he was in the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra singing, and he noted that Tommy Dorsey would play his instrument almost like a vocalist, and he was fascinated by this, and he was influenced by that, and of course by Billie Holiday's emotion and styling and timing. Well, this is the stuff that I live on. I long to hear stuff like this. I want to hear stuff like this, not who have you been dating lately.
Yes. Very quickly, as you mentioned Elton John, I used to listen to when you did the American top. Was it Top 30? I remember listening to in the 80s.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you once play Elton John's Nobody Wins and liked it so much you played it again? Or did I imagine that?
Well, I can't remember doing that because that's so unprofessional. But I did love that song.
Yeah.
Actually, Elton, now that you mention it, did sit in for me for a couple of weeks.
Maybe he did it.
Well, maybe he did it, yeah. Because he called himself EJ the DJ.
Ah.
And this was something that I never heard because I was in America, and of course you didn't have the internet at that time. But I was told that he came across a bit cross because he'd had a painful hair transplant.
So, will each show that you do, is it going to be a set format, or will it depend? Will it different? Were you going to throw out the questions or invite questions?
Oh, there will be a pop quiz or music quiz element in the second half of the show. I want to find out which generation knows the most about music. I have a theory, but I'm going to see what happens when it's tested. So I will call up to the stage 3 people from different generations, and we'll have a music quiz, and we'll see who does the best. And I'll keep tabs as I go across the country. Which generation knows the most?
I'm ringing from Harlow. I run a couple of online newspapers, Harlow and Harlow. I suppose I could throw it out to you that the 2 people who come off the top of my head would be Stephanie de Sykes from Harlow and Nick Kamen.
Wow. Well, Nick Kamen, golly, he was so hot for like half a year with that TV commercial and then Madonna producing him. I have no idea what Nick Kamen's doing now.
I think he's living in LA as an artist.
Oh, I see. Okay, fine. And Stephanie decides to born with a smile on her face.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
But before I say that, I have to say something about Harlow. Because the last time I did play Harlow in a DJ capacity, so we're going back to the 80s now, I was offered a lift back to London and for free. And so I said, oh, all right, fine. And what I didn't realize was that this guy was not a professional driver. And he was driving down the M11 at 110. And it was one of the scariest moments of my life. I mean, imagine being a passenger in a car driven by somebody you don't even know. He's going 110. You don't know his state of mind. And I asked him, could you please slow down? And he said, no. and even though I asked him a couple times to slow down, he wouldn't. And I knew that there was no point in asking him to pull over, A, because he wouldn't, and B, I would just be dumped on the side of the motorway in Nowheresville. And it was one of the most frightening experiences of my life. So I'm trusting that this time will be far more calm.
Well,
now,
yes, yes.
Yes, I figured out a way to deal with it, and we'll see if it's satisfactory. And because it's 1 year out of the 45, so it's there, but I don't dwell on it.
No. Funny you mentioned the car driver, is that Harlow Police had a dispersal order for all cruisers at the weekend, so maybe, it was like Harlow graffiti. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, brilliant. Well, thanks very much for your time, Paul. As one journalist to another, always, great respect and admiration for your work and your craft. So I look forward to seeing you in Bishop Stortford at the Rhodes. Thank you very much.